We try to make God's presence so tangible that it's only within goosebumps, tears, and when the music is loud. But God, do you ever think that God is that small that he only can be within a song? Do you ever think that God is so small he only fits in one day? Or is God so small he only exists when you're around that prayer partner? No, God is so much bigger than that. He's always present. And so the challenge for us is not for God, reveal yourself. The challenge for us is, God, help me recognize you here. The promise is that he'll be there. The facts and the truth already says that he's there. And so it's not like, well, God, where you at? Well, God is like, well, I already told you I was there, so it's up to you to find me. It's like we begin to ask God, not only be present, but also open my eyes and point them towards you. There is a choice in recognizing God. Just like there's a choice in living for God. There's a choice when you go to church, you hear a word. When you go to Bible study, you hear a word. There's a choice that lies within that says, will you recognize God after you heard that? You can say it with your mouth, but the real way to say that you recognize God's presence is by living like you're in his presence. Because if God is a holy, righteous God, if he created the world, if you recognize that the beauty of his holiness is beyond our imagination, beyond what Michelangelo, beyond what any other Leonardo da Vinci, beyond what anybody can ever paint or even imagine, no eye has seen, nor ear has heard. God is just that beautiful, that amazing, and that powerful. It's like, wow. Dang, well, God, I feel bad because I limited you to only when I felt a certain way. Somebody said, God is not in your feelings. Because he's everywhere. I kind of contradict. Hold on, rewind. God is not your feelings. He's not your feelings. And sometimes we only feel, well, God, I didn't feel you, so I didn't know you was there. So, did you feel the wind blow? No. But you still was breathing air? Yeah. Wind and air is the same thing. You ever think about that one? Like, why are we always trying to make God do stuff that he don't have to do? He's like, well, God, where you at? He's like, breathe. I still don't feel you. Well, if I move, you're going to die. Somebody said God is present. Now take a deep breath. The presence of the Lord is here. You can feel him in it? Okay. So, I'm going to sing one day. Okay. So, with the Isaiah 65 piece, it's like before we even ask anything, God hears. Now, going back to our focal text, Jeremiah 29, verses 11 through 14. He says, you will call upon me and go and pray to me, and I will listen to you, and you will seek me, and I will find you when you search for me with all of your heart. What's the first and greatest commandment? Love the Lord your God with what? Love the Lord your God with what? Come on. Love the Lord your God with what? Wow. Why? He says, but if you search with me with all your heart. We can't, if we expect to see and experience the fullness of God, we also got to give God the fullness of our heart. That's the only way we really can do that. And so because God is present, remember when we look at it in this context, people in slavery, they really don't want to hear anything other than God set me free. But yet God says, this is my promise unto you. That I have a plan for you. I have a future for you. A future that will help you, that will prosper you. What's on the next slide? Yes. No, we can stop right there. I'm going to hold that. And then even when we look at it, God's presence is so unique that God's presence is his present to us. Every time we're looking for a new present from God, a new blessing, God's got a blessing with my name on it. We're always looking for something new, but God is saying the most precious present that I could ever give you was my very presence. Because in my presence is the fullness of joy. And at my right hand are pleasures forevermore. And so is it safe to say that sometimes when we're looking for our breakthrough, or when we're looking for God to do something new, it's not that he hasn't done it, it's just that we have to recognize it. Or it's the fact that God has done it, and because we didn't take the proper steps to receive the promise, like we didn't take God's patience, and we didn't recognize his purpose, it's difficult for us to actually recognize and then better yet receive the promise. That makes sense? I'm going to rewind it and reverse it. It says, understand, this whole thing goes together. This is not three different messages. No, when I said God has a plan, this means that you have to do verses 1 through 5 in order to get to the next part, in order to get to verse 11. Everybody wants to hop to say, but God has a plan for you. He knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. Like everybody want to hop to the promise, but there's a process to receiving the promise. Because we don't take the proper process, God doesn't even look at us like we're worthy of the promise. And God's promise is this, that I do have a plan for you, that you will prosper. But I want you to endure the process of recognizing who I am when it seems like I'm not there. These people are in slavery, and yet God still tells them that I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there when you call me. I'm going to be there when you search for me. Hebrews 11:6 says that without faith it's impossible to please God. And he's a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. This means that we were just talking the other day, sometimes God is waiting for our diligence before he can reward us. Diligence means that you're going to continue to do something even when you don't necessarily see the results. I'm going to continue to work towards this goal. My goal is to see the fullness of God. This means I have to live a life that reflects the fullness of God, which means I have to live a life that is full of obedience. Because the only way to truly show God love is to obey his word. And so we ask, well, God, show me your presence. God's like, show me your obedience. God, show me your presence. God is like, I'm tired of you telling me. I mean, I'm here, but you're not necessarily living in a way that you can see me. And so in order for us to recognize that God is present, we must recognize that he's already there. A whole lot of times when we go through stuff, we feel like God just kind of just booted us into the middle of nowhere. And we just out this thing, we're like, God, where are you? God, I've been praying. God, I've been hurting. God, I've been fasting. God, where are you? And God is like, I'm here. No, God, I don't feel you. God is, and we constantly ask God, God, where are you? God, where are you? God, where are you? God, are you in my pain? Because that's what I feel. I'm hurting now. God, are you in this situation? That's what I feel because I'm hurting now. You know what? We're looking for God to be in all these external factors in our lives. And the Bible even says that greater is he that is in you than he who is in the world. So next time you ask God, where are you? God will probably show you a mirror and say, look within inside yourself. And I dwell there. And if you really want my presence, it won't take something externally for you to recognize who I am. When you really want my presence, it don't make no difference how things may look, how you may feel. When you recognize who I am, your perception would change from God is nowhere to God is now here. How do you think so many times it seems like the psalmist, like especially David, almost seems like he's bipolar? He'll come off in the text and be like, oh Lord, why have you forsaken me? All the enemies think